Smugglers Paradise, our latest hotline documentary. And we get into the nitty-gritty. Ghana apparently losing some 300 million Ghana cedis on the back of some of these activities every year. Well, joining us for that all-important conversation, Benjamin Akakpo. He is Senior Revenue Officer, Commander, Custom Counter-Terrorism Unit, that is with the GRA Customs Division. He joins the conversation. Mr. Akakpo, a very good morning to you. There's also Ernest Apiabwache, Chief Revenue Officer in charge of Preventive TEMA, GRA Customs Division. Mr. Apia, a very good morning to you as well.
Good morning, my brother.
Okay, so I'll start with my namesake. Maybe you shouldn't have come named Benjamin. Quite a lot has happened. This wouldn't be the first time that, a matter like this is arising. But has this come to your attention, this latest hotline documentary?
Yes, it has. It has really come to our attention. And I should say that it came to us as surprise, though, because we believe that we had put in mechanisms, yes, just to make sure we prevent smuggling at the borders. But we are also, let me say, grateful to the multimedia team for bringing this revelation to our attention. At least it gives us a hint that we need to step up our anti-smuggling operations at the borders. So we are much, much more grateful to multimedia for this wonderful expose that you have brought to our attention.
Mr. Apiabwache, for you, how would you say you reacted initially when this came up? Obviously, it's not a positive thing.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to this?
My reaction, as my brother has already reiterated, was a mixed feeling. It was a mixed feeling because we knew we were doing our best, but not knowing our best was not good enough. So when it came, we said, oh, why? Well, then we have to step up our game. So as he also said, we are much, much, much grateful. It has given us the impetus to, as it were, up our game and tighten the knots where it needs to be. So we are very grateful to multimedia.
When you look at the details in there in terms of the documentary itself and what it reveals and how much, especially with the focus on cooking oil, is funneled through from neighboring countries here and vice versa, if you like. Is that, I mean, looking at the sheer quantities and how much we lose, what does that mean? I mean, is it systemic? Are there loopholes that are allowing people to do this?
Thank you very much for this question. When we talk of smuggling, I think we are looking at it from the context of smuggling.
Right. That
these items have been able to influx our market and the nation. When we talk of smuggling, it's a complex and a very, 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 very difficult issue to handle. Not even within our country, but nationwide. All countries, advanced countries, and they are all grappling with the issue of smuggling. So when it comes to smuggling, it's a difficult issue. All that we do and we try to do is to bring it to the barest minimum. Looking at the quantum that has been quoted in the expose and looking at perhaps the revenue that might have been lost to the states, then it's a little bit of a worry that, yes, much has to be done to, as it were, bring these smuggling activities to the barest minimum.
It is causing a lot of losses to the state, most definitely. But I just want to look at the crucial issue of training. I just want to get there as well, Benjamin.
All right.
Even before, when you're recruiting officers into the customs service, what sort of training do they go through in respect of what we are seeing now? Smuggling activities, how to curb them, and how not to be complicit themselves, because we see that also coming up. What goes into their training?
All right, so as you said, customs has a procedure in recruiting, and this procedure involves even a criminal background check of the potential recruits. So all these things are done, and whilst they are recruited, we also have a training package. Our training school is at a Volta region. That's where you have your initial training, basic training. And you are taken through a lot of tactics and field craft in terms of paramilitary training, how to combat smuggling or embark on anti-smuggling operations, how to patrol the borders and other tactics that you are taught. Beyond that, you're also given further training in ethics and integrity training. You have all these training package for the officer. But indeed, beyond the training, sometimes being a human institution, you still are likely to encounter some of these bad nuts, I should say. So our training package is well tailored to meet the needs of the customs operation. So we have a very good training program.
How long do you train your officers for?
Yeah, in fact, within the security setup, I can say customs has the longest span of training. It ranges from 12 months to 18 months of training.
And what goes into whether it will be 12 or 18?
Yes, it depends on the category that you actually came in. If you came in probably as a recruit that is non-officer level, you are likely to do 12 months, and then beyond that, you are likely to go for 18 months of training.
Okay. Yes. We've got some responses already from the Ghana Immigration Service, customs and all of that on the back of this latest Hotline documentary. But I'd like to find out from you, have you found out how these dealers are able to compromise your staff? I intentionally posed the question about training because then something will be inculcated in them that you must do X and you must not do Y. So if they're doing Y, we must find out why they are succumbing to that. Have you been able to find out?
Well, as we have already said, smuggling activity itself is a very complex phenomenon to deal with. Not losing sight on the fact that the syndicate themselves are highly networked people who exploit various avenues. Sometimes not just compromising the officers, but they can use other means to even outsmart or outwit the officers. And I think the documentary even spoke to that fact where some of them plan to hide or conceal items within VIP buses and even charcoal trucks. So these are all modus operandi that the smugglers always want to go a step ahead of the officer. But that being said, being a human institution, as I said,
right,
you are most likely to have situations where some of the smugglers may exploit some weak officers by bribing their way through, and that is possible. We cannot deny that fact.
Over time, over the years, like I said, this wouldn't be the first time that something of this nature has come up. Have you encountered any of such weak officers? What has been done to them?
Yes, most definitely. I think that your expose come as an addition to previous exposés that we've had. We, at our own level, we have internal mechanisms that expose some of these officers. And when that is done, I can give you a typical example. About a year or two ago, some officers were caught doing the wrong thing, and they were actually interdicted, they were investigated, and some were demoted. Some were even had to be suspended and other sanctions meted out to them. So we've had instances like we all know what Anas did in the past. Some officers were even prosecuted and some were sentenced. So we have proper mechanism to expose such bad nuts that we have, and then also to make sure that the good ones are encouraged to do their best.
You want to top up? Sure.
Yes. To add to what my brother has just said, you see, one thing that stands out clearly in the those of us who wear uniform, you say you salute the rank, and one of the most unattractive punishment that you can give to an officer is to demote the person. For now, I'm a chief revenue officer, and something happens, and I'm demoted to, say, a principal revenue officer or a senior revenue officer, and I have to salute those that are my juniors,
or those who were saluting you previously.
So you can just imagine. So when some of these things come up, and measures are taken to correct or to reform the officers, or one way or the other, ours is so much humiliating that some people doesn't want to even go near them. And when such punishments are meted out to them, you see from the person's demeanor that it has just gone deep down to him.
So I accept that and I agree. I mean, in the services, whether it's the military, the police, or all of that, I mean, imagine being of a very high rank and being demoted. It can be very psychologically traumatic for you. But apart from that, someone would also say, but it not be the rank I go chop. You know, someone wants to tell you that.
Yes.
If he's got the money, he's already got the money. Yeah. And are there mechanisms, basically what I'm trying to say, are there mechanisms so that if it can be proven, for example, that through this very conduit where these officers are stationed, maybe 200,000 cedis worth of revenue that should have come to the state has not come to the state through their activities. Are there checks that are run to find out that, maybe they've acquired this property, this one has acquired this property there, that one has acquired that property, so that the penalty moves just beyond rank and maybe even putting them out of the service? I mean, you can put someone out of the service and the person would have made, let's assume, 250,000 Ghana cedis. And the person's aim would have been achieved. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
So what else is being done in that regard?
In that regard, then it transcends beyond the internal mechanism that we are talking about. Then it becomes a criminal offense, which the state has laws and regulations to deal with you. He just mentioned that some officers who, during the announced expose, were actually prosecuted.
You're talking of the Atta Mills era one?
Yes.
The one under Atta Mills, right?
Yes, I think I announced a couple of them. One in the Elubo side and those officers.
Yes, at Tema, yes, they were prosecuted. Some were even sentenced to prison terms. And when it comes to that, then the state will decide whether to attach your property, to look at how within this period you were able to acquire this thing so that the state can even attach your property. We are not saying that we are customs, so the state laws does not affect us. We are also affected by the state law. So if something of the nature happens, definitely the state will also...
But let me just find out. So have we had any such instances before where any people, I mean, beyond this, in terms of the criminal, proceedings, apart from incarcerating them, maybe property has been targeted and all of that?
For that,
I think Ben wants to...
So I'm very much aware, like we cited a NAS incident that led to the prosecution of the officers. I think properties were seized or retrieved from them. And sometimes it depends on the degree of the offense, you see. So like the demotion we're talking about, that's not the only sanction that we give to our officers. We look at the density of the offense and the quantum of the amounts involved. And like my boss said, sometimes it goes beyond the internal administrative mechanisms to get to criminal issues. Again, we also have the Internal Affairs Department that is more or less like PIPs, if you like, the PIPs of customs. And they are non-uniformed officers who go after officers. They monitor your lifestyle. They can even, follow you privately to uncover what you do in your...
Oh, wow, I
see. Yes, we have that. And they do that very often.
And these are officers?
They are officers.
And they are trained specifically for this?
For this, yes.
And so you don't even know. They may not be dressed as officers.
They never wear uniforms.
Mufti or something. And
they wear mufti.
Some of our colleagues don't even know them. They've never encountered them. So they can mount surveillance on you and check your lifestyle, trace your properties. Sometimes you've not even done anything wrong, but when they study your lifestyle and they realize that you are living out of your means, there are ways to call you to order.
So they are trained together with the general pool?
They are recruited specifically. I think somewhere 2008, 8, the U.S. government supported the Customs Administration to set up the Internal Affairs Department. So some of them were even trained in U.S. and brought back here to do that work. So they are there.
Just a quick one. How many of them are in the system? How many are we looking at?
Quite
100, 200,
I cannot give that figure outright because that they fall under the Ethics and Good Governance Department. That's a separate department altogether.
Right.
And they report directly to the Commissioner General on all misconduct of officers.
Yeah. But that's very reassuring. That's a very good step.
You see, my brother, the only thing with us customs is that yesterday from the radio program, we went straight to our commissioner. We sat down with him for close to 1 hour.
Right.
And these are some of the things that we were suggesting, that we have all these things, but we don't actually make it known to the public.
Right.
That these are the things.
I didn't know of this.
Yeah,
I know a few things but I didn't know of this that you just
So from this expose, it's bringing a whole lot of things that hitherto we were doing it, but we were not making it public. We want to, by this expose, now come public, and some of these things that we are doing that the public are not aware, we bring it to the fore through your help.
Definitely, and we'll collaborate on that. Yeah. Let's bring in those who are very deeply affected by all of this when these oil products are brought from neighboring countries. Samuel Avala is president of the Oil Palm Development Association in Ghana. Samuel, a very good morning to you.
Incidentally, he's my brother.
I see. Hello, Samuel.
Yes. Thank you for the opportunity, and good morning to you and my co-panelists in your studio, and of course to our viewers and listeners.
So just to start off the conversation, even before we get into what your reaction is about all of this, I know that for a long time people have said that oil palm is not as lucrative as it used to be, that people are not even cultivating it like we used to. What is the state of oil palm, plantations or farming in Ghana currently? Just briefly on that.
Yes, the state is still in the infant stage, I will say. I say so because Ghana is a net importer of palm oil for a long time, and that gap between our demand, our consumption, and then our production appears to be widening. And the reason is that as people move on the scale of living standards, they tend to eat more oil in the different forms, whether fried or baked or things like that. So I would say that we are in the process of growing the industry to the level that it will make the fullest impact on our economy. Let me give you some data. From 2019 down to 2021, our local palm oil production was just a little above 800,000 metric tons. That's below 1 million metric tons. Within the same period, we imported about 1.1 million metric tons. Now, this is outside the informal, the illegal, the smuggled ones, So it shows that our own production is not even 50% of our consumption. And when I say consumption, people should not think that palm oil is only used in your gobe and red bread. Soap has about 40 to even 80% of palm oil in it. The cooking oil we use, and most products you see the ingredients, they will list vegetable oil as part of the ingredient.
Right.
Most of them
biscuits and all of that, they are in there, in all of these.
So it is not true that the industry is not lucrative. In fact, the government has
the point wasn't that it's not lucrative, but the point is that over the years, like you rightly mentioned, it appears the gap in terms of our production and the expectation in terms of consumption has been widening, and that some are moving away from it because of some of the very influences we are talking about today. That's what I mean, not that it's not lucrative.
That is true. Some of the reasons people will be moving away from it is also because of this smuggling. Can you imagine that the oil palm has an economic life of about 25 years, and somebody wants to go into this business, and then he hears that people are smuggling in oil, making the local production unprofitable, definitely nobody is going to put in such investment into a long-term venture when smuggling is, if you like, the Achilles heel that is going to wipe away your investment because the local production will not be competitive. And therefore, smuggling will have a field day. And that is why this matter you are discussing, and in fact, this expose, it's a very important one. It has national dimensions to it. It has the hundreds and thousands of smallholder and outdoor farmers whose livelihood depends on their fruit, which has to be bought and paid for by the millers so that they can also live. I think that this thing must be taken more seriously, and I'm happy about the discussion and the contribution or the highlights coming from my colleagues in your studio. But what I want to say is that they seem to have a plan, they seem to have systems, but I guess they need to step back and evaluate the effectiveness of these systems, and they will come to the conclusion that I have come to, that it is not working. So something must change. If the systems and their measures are there the way they are saying, and smuggling is still having a field day, then something is not working and it's got to change. And when they talk about punishment and things, I think it doesn't bite enough. Supposing they arrested somebody who is smuggling this goods, what happens to that person? Is the punishment deterrent enough for the next person to think again if they want to go into this? And as for the loss of revenue to the state, very huge. And I think that the government policy, which has brought about the Tree Crops Development Authority, which is supposed to develop some 6 tree crops, including oil palm, to the status or the standard that we have to hold, it's not going to work if smuggling is allowed to go on the way it's going. And I want to suggest that, look, they can't fight this alone. And I'm happy that my brother Apiabachi is talking about now they want to come out and let the public and actors in the various value chains know what they are doing so that we can work together, we can collaborate. For instance, if they have toll-free numbers that people, if you are just a passenger sitting in a VIP bus and you see they are loading this thing in, you can take a photo and then WhatsApp it to a source, and so that real time, these criminals and miscreants and anti-nation building thing that is going on, we can all work together to make sure that we curb it. But certainly, if this thing doesn't stop, then we will continue to be a net importer using millions of dollars to import more palm oil to meet our own demand, and even as we also export, and it's not going to bode well for the welfare of the economy. And even the ordinary Ghanaian and thousands who are in this value chain, especially outgrower and smallholder farmers.
Of course, we know even now, as we're contending with very high depreciation on the part of our local currency, that wouldn't inure to our benefit, because that would be a flight of hard currency that we could have kept here to shore up our economy. But let me ask you, what has been the real impact of all of this? You speak about the sheer volume, 300 million Ghana cedis lost per year. Now, what has been the impact on you, the Oil Palm Development Association? Any impact that can be seen as tangible on the back of these happenings?
Yes, the impact you will see is that, first of all, we are not getting the required injection of investment into the space, right? And if you are in an industry that is not growing because there is no fresh injection, and even those who are in it, some want to exit, then that is a suicidal path for any value chain or industry, and for the state for that matter. So that is the impact we are getting. And we need to work on this very quickly so that investor confidence, and when I say investor, I'm not just talking about foreign investors, even local investors, the farmers in the rural areas whose livelihoods depend on this. You know, some people have felled their palms to produce palm wine and apetici. Now, palm wine and apetici is a one-time revenue. But if you leave the palm tree, you will harvest for more than 20 to 25 years. And that gives a more sustainable income streams and revenues for the farmers and all those who are engaged in the industry. So that's the effect that it is having. And the earlier we dealt with this, the better, so that we can really, really position oil palm to become, and you know what? The opportunity we have is that oil palm grows. If you take the equator, 0 degree, and then you go 10 degrees north, 10 degrees south, that belt around the globe, that is where oil palm can be grown in economic quantities. Now, anywhere beyond this range, they can't grow oil palm economically. And happily, almost half of Ghana is within this oil palm growing belt. Now we have the opportunity to be able to produce enough for ourselves and export, especially under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area thing that is coming. This is one of the areas that we have a natural advantage, and we should not allow our own countrymen and women who are selfish and therefore will engage in smuggling to kill this industry. It's a very fine opportunity. It's the same like cocoa. Cocoa cannot be grown anywhere. Otherwise, some of those countries that consume cocoa would have grown it themselves. They cannot. Oil palm is in the same category. And we need to take full advantage of it, expand it, make sure it creates jobs and livelihoods for a lot of Ghanaian people. And I think that Joy FM, this is a very good work that you have done. And it shouldn't be a 9-day wonder. In fact, this thing has been done before, and each time we all go to sleep and the people wake up again and do their thing. I think this time we must find a way to do it consistently, sustainably for a long time, and make sure that we dealt a death blow to this menace that has bedeviled our nation for a long time.
Mr. Avala, hold for me. There are other very pertinent questions I have for you, so just hold for me. Let me come back into the studio briefly. I'll start with you, Benjamin. He suggests that these matters come up and then we tackle them. You know, it's like a knee-jerk reaction. We are active and all of that, and then we go to sleep. Have you been sleeping? Customs service, have you been sleeping on the job?
Not at all. We've not been sleeping. We actually appreciate his comments and his contributions. I think a few of them we have taken note, like he's suggesting that we have a toll-free number. I think we have, but it's up to the GRA, the CPA, the Corporate and Public Affairs to make it public for everybody to.
Wait, so if we have a toll-free number, how come it's not out there for people who see something to say something?
Actually, I agree with you that we've not publicized it enough, but it is on the GRA website. When you visit the GRA website right now, you see the toll-free number of the GRA, actually. So we actually appreciate some of these concerns that he has raised. We have not been sleeping as he suggested, but we admit that within the challenges that we even find ourselves, talking about the porous and vast nature of the borders, together with other challenges that we find ourselves, we are doing our best, except also to say that as a human institution, some of these things will come up, and when it comes up, the most important thing is to have measures to deal with it decisively. So we don't go to sleep, but the smugglers themselves are always a step ahead, as I said, because they take advantage of some of these loopholes that we have in the system. So it's a good thing. These measures will be sustained, I think, with a close collaboration with Joy or Multimedia, for that matter, and all other media houses, and especially the citizenry. We would be able to clamp down on these matters. I should say that it is a shared responsibility between customs, and the citizens, they should be bold enough to give information, positive information that will lead to the arrest of some of these things. I think that we've been making serious arrests so far as smuggling is concerned. We are very much aware about the economic and the security impact of smuggling. You have done well, but you limited yourself to oil smuggling. We are tackling it holistically and looking at smuggling in general and other goods. In fact,
I mean, we know that fertilizer, for
fertilizer,
example, is
exactly.
smuggled. Cocoa is smuggled.
It's smuggled.
So, but you also admit that for an entity like ours, we can't do. We've done something on cocoa before,
exactly.
So you can say that bit by bit, we tackle them and bring them to your notice.
And we appreciate that a lot. So just to bring to the attention of the public that smuggling has security effect as well. If people decide to smuggle weapons and arms and ammunition in this era of terrorism, that itself is a problem to our country. And that is why my outfit, the counter-terrorism unit, is also in place to deal with some of these issues. So we are very ready to work with everybody, all stakeholders involved, to clamp down on this menace.
And I'll be coming to the bit about terrorism much later as we wrap the conversation. Before I go on the phone lines, very quickly, Mr. Apiabuache. So Benjamin talks about loopholes and the fact that these smugglers tend to be a step ahead. I see you're doing quite a lot, a whole lot. And I'm actually impressed by that bit you spoke about, these people in Mufti, kind of like intelligence when it comes to customs, who are sniffing out those who may be living lives that are not in tandem, in consonance with what they earn. But these loopholes, then, if you know there are these loopholes, and if you realize that smugglers are a step ahead, which shouldn't be, the question is, why has it been this way for so long? Very briefly, so I go over the phone lines.
Thank you very much. A friend of mine once said something to me. He said, the smugglers, it's like before you think, they have thought. Look at the concealment in charcoal. How would you even think that oil will be concealed in charcoal bags? That is their modus operandi. They sit and plan.
But if people will declare at the ports that they have brought in maybe chicken wings and it is 4 chickens, or it is this product, and it turns out that there's a lot of fish, then people will find all means of concealment.
That brings us to the issue that when we talk of smuggling, it is not the physical smuggling that we see alone. Misdescription is smuggling. Undervaluation is smuggling. Concealment, as in the case of the oil in this charcoal, is also smuggling.
Right.
So we have various forms of smuggling that affect our socioeconomic fabric. It's a complex issue, as we have already reiterated.
Right.
It's a complex thing. We are not sleeping, as my brother purports to say. We are always alive. But
I'll come back to you on what more we can do. Just a quick alert before I go on the phone lines. I went on your website. It's not so easy finding the toll-free number. I've still not found it, especially focusing on customs. So maybe that is a pointer to the fact that it should be more open, because someone may not have time to go and now be looking where is their toll-free number and all of that. That's something to stay stock of. Let me bring in Nana Mafo Amaniampo, former member of parliament, Ifija Kwabre North. He's a former chair of Parliament's Trades and Industry Committee. Nana, a very good morning to you, sir.
Very good morning to you and your cherished listeners.
How much of a concern is it for you when you hear of these developments? Ghana losing, in terms of revenue, about 300 million Ghana cedis, all on the back of not just broad smuggling, focused on oil and other matters. What is your reaction to that?
Thank you for your nice introduction. But what else can I say? You see, as immediate past member of parliament, it's full glare. And when I'm walking around in and around Kumasi, and you hear people saying that Akufo-Addo, you say you are bringing dollar to dollar. You see, you just get sick. But I think I heard the tail end of the last contributor, and in fact, I think they are on top of their job. But the point is that this see something, say something, it's just some mantra. People don't really get the import of those things.
See something, say something is just a mantra?
Yes. Usually, I mean, if we lose for the smuggling of oil alone, we lose $300 million. And you go to IMF, how much are they going to give you? So if you take units, let's say from oil alone, we lose so much. Then go to
let me just clarify. The figure I have is in CDs, unless there's something. So it's 300 million CDs.
Okay. Okay.
Right.
I thought it was dollars. But even if they are in safer, they are. I mean, it's money. You get the point. 300 million Ghana cedis can do a lot. If we are able to seal all these leakages. Only God knows how far we can go. You see, the gentleman just said that, I mean, we are losing so much from smuggling of oil. When I heard, I thought it was petroleum products and stuff like that. But later on, he explained. You see, I'm a farmer. Yeah, I don't plant palm oil, but I plant cocoa and other things, you see. And when you are in the farm, when you are tired and you sit down and you put the economy of Ghana, let's say, in your palm and you try to analyze, you realize that we shouldn't have reached here. We have more than enough to take care of us for the next even 20 years. But the bottom line is that the average Ghanaian is very dishonest. You see, that is the bottom line. The average Ghanaian, being an MP, being a teacher, being a journalist, being even those working at the presidency, the common denominator that you can find among these people, even the Ghanaian footballer, you see, is that he is absolutely dishonest. And when we are dealing with people who are innately dishonest, what else can you do? What else can you do? Because you can finish everything. You package everything. You ask him to deliver to the next month. Before you are aware, he has diverted it. So all those people who work on that package, their work is fruitless. I hope you get me.
I get you. So break it down for me. I want to find out how much responsibility as former MP should authority, and I'm talking about the leadership of the country, so political will, bear, and then how much responsibility should the ordinary Ghanaian, who will also maybe tell you that, I'm just trying to get my Noko fuel, how much responsibility should be apportioned to the different sides on this?
No, you see, probably you did not get my point. Even somebody, if you were to arrest somebody and you hand him over to the judiciary, you think the guy did that because he thinks that even when you send him to the High Court or whatever, I mean, for justice, you will see the guy just walking away. So you realize that this has to call for national debate. I mean, you are doing a program just to create awareness. But we need to let Ghanaians know, like I was telling you, as immediate past member of parliament, I realized that most of the laws that we do or we come up with doesn't work, because when it comes to the executive for them to actually make sure that it works, at the end of the day, they sign it, then it comes to the masses, and then somebody arrests somebody, takes him to the police station. At the end of the day, they give it to the judiciary, and it doesn't work. So what I'm trying to say is that we need to call for national debate. Ask ourselves what is happening, that we are where we are, so that we all make sure that at least, because if you ask me, what can we do? You call for more, let's say, what we used to call them, border guards. I mean, these slippages in there, we need to tell them. But it's the Ghanaian that you are going to put there. At the end of the day, he's also dishonest. So you come back to square one. That doesn't matter, I can prefer, because the bottom line is that you don't get people who work with wholeheartedness, be an MP, being an executive, being even you, the journalist. How many times your people don't compromise on their positions? You get the point. Somebody can give you information. You go in there, and at the end of the day, you bring a story which actually will make the whole thing look like, oh, it's not any serious thing and stuff like that. So I don't know exactly what to tell you. I'm telling you, to be honest with you.
Well, thankfully, that is why we are independent, fearless, and credible. And that is why we've come out with this hotline documentary, in fact. You would realize that a lot of the time when these things come up, it's from our stables because we know we bear that responsibility to the ordinary Ghanaian. But you've sort of taken the wind out of my sail. I wanted to conclude with you on what you think, especially because of that crucial position you've occupied in Parliament on the Trades and Industry Committee. You're saying that from both ends, there are problems. But how do we address the problems? We're here to find solutions. What do you think we can do?
Oh, one, I think, seriously, if we want to, it happens all over the world. In America, something happens, and then they bring a juicy package that if somebody can help us, exactly what we are doing or Anas used to do, you get it. If you can help us to, let's say, grab these smugglers and this thing, there's this hopping, which shouldn't be too big for the unit which is responsible for it to pay. If you can help us to, let's say, trap these smugglers, maybe this and that package is in there for you.
So rewards. So rewards. We must incentivize it.
Reward systems.
Okay.
We need to, bring out juicy reward systems. And the reward not necessarily maybe the fiscal cash that will give to the person, but something, which will carry him to the next generation so that at least who wouldn't want to be associated with Kwame Nkrumah or Dr. Buzia or Hilal Liman, because these have been leaders of the country. I have a friend, Honorable Rekwedu. His father is this man. He's huge when it comes to Ghana legal systems. And he always reminds me that I'm a grandson of Chami Akutu, Bafo Akutu. If you read law,
right.
That man names, yes, he's Rekwedu is direct, grandson of that man. So when you are working with him, he always want to remind you that, hey, don't forget, I'm the grandson of, let's say, Bafo Akutu. These are some of the things that I'm talking about. If we can bring genuine, lasting, reward systems, I think people who even want to die, or even if they should die in line of action, they know that their death will not be in vain. Just as Kwame Nkrumah, no matter death that we throw at him, the fact remains that he led the independent movement. You get it? But as you've told me, I think I can write something and then send it to you on WhatsApp so that when you finish your document, I think you can add it up.
Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you.
We'll maybe you can just stay on the line so my producers can engage you on that, and we'll see how you can share further thoughts of yours about how to solve this problem. Because we are not just here to talk about problems, we're here to find solutions. Nana Mafo Amaniampo is former member of Parliament, Ifija Kwabren North, former chair Parliament's Trades and Industry Committee. So you've heard different proposals, and he's saying one of the mechanisms you can use is incentivize it so that people will actually see something and want to say something, because they know that if I get my information right, I could also get some nokofio into my pocket for being a good citizen. Good call?
Yeah. Very, very, very apt. And
is this something you do already?
It's already in place.
Okay.
I think yesterday on radio, we did mention that we have what we call Informants Awards. And we were trying to educate the public that it's there for you, for your take.
You see, another thing we are not aware of.
Give us the information, credible one, we arrest, and you are the person to enjoy. It's there. So we want to use this medium to, as it were, inform everybody, every citizen, that when it comes to fighting smuggling, it's not one man's business. It's a very big and Herculean task. We have Informants Awards. Please give us the credible information, not the ones that I quite remember some time ago we were operating at some place, And there were two factions. They were aiding the smugglers. So they will come and tell you, my brother, the people are passing here. So let's go and waylay them. So we will go and waylay them. By the time we realize they've passed the other side and gone. Not that type of information. Give us credible information, and I'll show you, you will never regret. And
Okay.
your identity is over 100% protected. That one will give you that full assurance. But give us credible information, and you will never regret. It's there for you.
You've heard Mr. Apiabuachi on that. He says, give us the information and we will give you the necessary reward. So if you have any information of people engaging in smuggling, you can always bring it up. But going back to what Mr. Avala said, I want you to respond to some of what he said before I go back to him for some further thoughts. He makes mention of the fact that your system is not punitive enough. It doesn't serve as enough of a deterrent for people, so that you know that if these are going to be the consequences, you would want to think not just twice, thrice, 4 times before you stick your neck out. That is one. And he also talks about collaboration. That was where he also mentioned the toll-free number. Any quick responses to that?
All right, thank you. I think that I do not agree to the fact that our systems are not punitive enough. As a matter of fact, we have one of the strictest laws when it comes to customs and customs offenses. In fact, when you are caught in the act of smuggling, your means of conveyances, including the items that you are smuggled, everything is forfeited, is seized to the state. And then on
So
top,
you mean, for example, a truck, whatever that is found, even if let's assume I am the owner of the truck. I have no idea my truck is being used by maybe the person I've given it out to smuggle. It means my truck will be confiscated.
Exactly. Unless you are able to prove that really you were not aware of the whole situation. By your driver, the means of conveyance, that's what the law says, that it has to be confiscated to the state. And then on top of that, you are going to be prosecuted for smuggling because it's a criminal offense. So it's very punitive. It's very punitive.
But from the standpoint of officers, how punitive is it?
Yes. So I think that we've spoken about...
We've spoken a bit about it, but he's obviously not convinced.
He's not convinced. So we can assure him that, just as we said, depending on the magnitude of the offense, of course, each case will have to be treated according to its own merit. So you can't bunch every case together. But there are punitive mechanisms. I mean, there's nothing more punitive than sentencing somebody for such breaches. So we have such punitive measures in place. And like what we've been saying, just because we don't make it public, so people think that, nothing is happening. But customs, I quite remember yesterday I made mention on radio that we are one of the security institutions that disciplines officers the most. Interdicting a batch of 300 officers. I don't think it has ever happened in Ghana before, but we did that. So these are measures that are supposed to serve as deterrent. But of course, I mean, there is always a bad nut. People who always want to dare the system, but the fact that you get 1 or 2 people doing it doesn't mean that the punishments are not punitive enough. But now, coming back to the collaboration as he spoke about, I think just when I mentioned, I had a message from our corporate and public affairs department sending us the toll-free numbers. If you don't mind, we can put it on air.
Yes.
So for the GRA toll-free number is 0800 900 110. 0800 900 110.
So that is 0800 900 100.
110.
110.
Exactly.
So 0800 900 110.
Exactly. And then we have 2 WhatsApp lines. 2 WhatsApp lines. If you see something, you can just take a shot and then send it to the WhatsApp line. The appropriate unit.
You can put the WhatsApp
Okay,
line.
so the WhatsApp line, the first one is 055 299 0000. 055 299 0000. And then the second one, which is also a WhatsApp line, is 0200 631 664. 0200 631 664. So these are our lines out there. If you see something, you ought to say something, you just have to take a shot of it. And then beyond this, we've also been collaborating.
We would have charged you for this, but it's all in the national interest.
It's
all in the national interest.
We totally agree. Thank you for the opportunity. So in terms of collaboration, we've also been collaborating with other security institutions at the borders. You realize that, as I said, the border is so vast and porous. And because of that, we need the assistance of the other agencies at the borders. Currently, there is the integrated border management system in place that will ensure that we collaborate, we share resources, we share intelligence. So if you are an immigration officer and you see somebody smuggling, you ought to call customs, and then we collaborate with you, and then we clamp down on these activities. So that collaboration is very key.
I would have reserved this for later, but for the sake of time and bringing in Mr. Avala,
sure.
I just want to share these questions to you. Very brief answers.
Okay.
The first one, so you talk about human resource.
Yes.
And logistics.
Okay.
And it's something that we've known over time that you have constraints with.
That's correct.
What are the constraints in terms of the numbers? How many more people would you require at the borders to ensure that you can clamp down further? Because it's a people thing.
Yeah,
the more people you have on hand, the more you can be, your presence will make them also, some of them, it would be a deterrent.
Yeah.
For others, you have to get into the matter. I'll just reference the police visibility teams that are all over the place. I've just been taking a look at them. Some of them, they are just there. They're doing nothing, but doing nothing not in the sense of they are there. The mere presence there will prevent someone from... I see motorbikes now getting to certain points and they stop because of the police visibility teams. So that sort of presence is also needed. What are the dynamics in that respect? And for you, I would have you address the claim. Some people say that you shield your own. That when issues come up, you act like, oh, we are doing something, but in the end, you bring them back to you. I'll start with you, Mr. Akakpo.
All right, thank you.
Please, so I bring in Mr.
Yeah,
Avala.
sure. If I knew you were going to ask for the exact numbers, I would have consulted the human resource department before I came here. But I can't give the exact figures.
I don't want exact numbers, but I'm saying,
I can
look,
say that.
How many do you feel? Would you need twice the number you have? 3 times, 4 times?
Yes, I will even say that we need more than 4 times the number we have currently.
More than 4 times the number you have in customs?
Exactly, because you just alluded to the fact that, you see, the mere presence of personnel at the borders serve as deterrent. And that is how come we have a preventive department. So the preventive department is actually supposed to prevent the smuggling from occurring. But in case it occurs, they should be able to detect and apprehend the smugglers. So we need serious numbers. If you have gone to the borders recently, you realize that our numbers are not that encouraging. So we need to increase the numbers over there. Not just the numbers, but we also believe that with the assistance of technology, because I think with the help of management, GRA management, they were able to acquire some drones for us. And we believe that when we're able to deploy some of these drones, they can help us in getting surveillance and then deploying to clamp down on some of these activities.
That's a good one. So that's another novelty. It's something new, right? The drone technology you're harnessing. So even if you don't have men on the ground, you can send these drones out to survey the area to give you a clue of whether there's something going on. Good step.
But of course, when you get the drones, you still need a personnel.
You still need personnel too. But at least you can have one person managing rather than going transport and all of that. You tend to shield your own. That's the accusation.
Yes. As I indicated earlier on, we don't shield anybody. But what happens is that, as I said, we don't publicize the punishment that has been meted out to our own. And
is that something you think you should start doing?
Yes, yesterday.
So that people will have that.
Office, yes.
So that people will have that confidence that, oh, because look, honestly, if in this instance, Kwame, Kweku, Yao are pointed to, and you do find them, because you mentioned that there's going to be a probe. I'll come to you on that, Mr. Bekai. And you do mention that there will be a probe and they are found culpable. And I don't know what happened to Kwame, Yao, and the rest. My assumption would be that, oh, there they are walking around. What happened to them? That's what the ordinary Ghanaian would think.
So we assure you, are giving you the assurance that we don't shield our own. They are put through the due process. And what they are found of, they are punished accordingly. But we don't come out. But these days, as yesterday we were in the commissioner's office, and I think this thing came out. That we have been accused most of the time that we are shielding our own and this because we do not, as it were, populate it. So we were saying that those times we had something we called omnibus. And the omnibus, it was a quarterly bulletin. And all offenses and all occurrences that has done what has been happening to them is published. So everybody knows within the system that, hey, this person...
Within the system, being within customs, but not outside.
Outside.
Right.
So we were saying that, yes, why can't we do the same in the public? That from time to time, we come up to say that this and this thing happened, and these are the punitive measures that we've taken against our officers. So I should think that our current commissioner, being the head of our good governance, he bought into it and said, yes. So we know very soon something will come out like that. We don't shield our own. We take them through the due process.
Expect something from the Customs Service. I know you are itching to say something. I'll come back to it. But let me bring in Samuel Avala, President, Oil Palm Development Association, as we get ready to wrap up the conversation. I'd like to find out from you, though, how strong is your group? How many members do you have? And have the numbers dwindled in recent times?
Thank you very much. The numbers haven't dwindled, just that the rate at which we are growing is not enough to bring our production level to at least import parity. So that is where...
So can we start with the numbers? How many are you?
Okay. The artisanal millers, those who have small mills, they, on our record, are upwards of 3,000. And they are distributed across the eastern, western, central, Ashanti, BA, and some part of Volta region. That is just the artisanal millers. But when it comes to the outgrower farmers, they are in about 150,000 of them. And we are still in the process of registering. So this is very conservative. And when it comes to those working in the large-scale plantations, you are going to have another 120,000 people living on the plantations and working in the formal setting. Now, when you take those who are in the manufacturing sector, like soaps, cooking oil, because the factories are more sophisticated, the numbers are smaller, but they are not going to be less than 50,000. So you are talking about upwards of 500,000 people directly engaged in this value chain. And for each person, if they have 4 family members, then you can say we are talking about 2 million people who are impacted directly by this value chain. But let me quickly make a few interjections. First of all, let me apologize to my colleagues if they think that using the figurative language when I said we sleep on the job. That is not what I meant. It's just a figurative language. But then also, let me also address the thing about their need for labor, for more men and women on the ground. In fact, when we engaged the commission, the customs some time back, that was the biggest problem. And they actually needed some vehicles. They also needed men and women. And we are sure that the NAPCOP trainees some will be inducted into the customs and they will help. But I don't agree with my colleagues that they need about 4 times the number now. These days, technology and labor efficiency and productivity is very much available, and they don't need to even double the current numbers. I think if they get 1 or 2 helicopters in addition to the drones, they'll be able to patrol vast areas of the land with cameras, powerful cameras, and just double the numbers without giving them the instruments to work. It will come back to the same thing. So I would think that perhaps we in industry must also find a way of supporting them with some of the logistics and things that they need, so that we can fight this thing together. I would like to suggest that the toll-free number, they should enforce it on all their checkpoints and also at the lorry terminals, so that it is easy for any, and then including the WhatsApp numbers. Now it will become public. Now they say that when they punish their people, they only publish it internally. I think they should go public. And then also the people, the smugglers themselves, they should also be published. You see, when you are in a community, a neighborhood, and you hear that, oh, a SMC has been mentioned on radio or on TV or in the newspapers as having engaged in smuggling, which is anti-nationalism and all of that, I think that the whole society and the stigma that it brings will help to deter some. It's not by any means going to make it completely eradicated, but certainly it is going to reduce this to perhaps the barest minimum. Finally, let me say that one of the things that they should also do is to go to the markets and then identify the various oils and products and try and trace back. So where did you get this from? What is the source? That will also be a sure way of tracing back, and then you will get to a brick wall. It means that this thing did not come through approved means, because they cannot show you documents of clearing from a port and the duties they have paid, and then it can be whoever brought it. I think that they should use more scientific and perhaps smarter ways, and together with us, the public and the value chain actors in the industry, we should be able to be telling a better story next time round.
So I'll be giving each of you, those two in the studio and you as well, just about a minute to wrap. You've already proffered solutions, so I want you to quickly do this. There's also the issue of Sudan dye. I feel it would be irresponsible to have this conversation without that. The Food and Drugs Authority often brings it up. Sudan dye, that some of those who produce oil palm, mix with their oil palm products. How are you dealing with that situation? And you see that Malaysia came to us for palm. And now look at what they are doing and look at where we are in terms of production. How do we catch up? If you can do that in some 40 seconds or to a minute.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sudan for dye is a menace. We have been tackling it. We have worked with the standards, the Ghana Standards Authority, Food and Drugs Authority. We have worked with the oil palm, the OPRI, Oil Palm Research Institute of Ghana. And now our artisanal millers, those who mill or produce the palm oil in smaller quantities, small scale millers, that is the chain where the tendency to add the Sudan is. And it's not even the millers, it is those who buy and send to the market centers. So they drop the Sudan dye in the containers, and then the miller only fills it with the oil, not knowing what is already in the container. So it calls for systems and quality control and quality assurance. I can assure you that the Artisanal Millers Association, who are a subset of our Value Chain Association, have developed an app which is going to be rolled out widely so that our oils must be branded so that you can trace back to who produced it. Then if there is any incidence of Sudan 4 dye, just as we are talking about tracking smugglers, it can be traced to a miller, and then they can be punished accordingly. And I think that is working, and I can assure consumers that they should feel free and consume their gobe and kotumre with.
How do we catch up with Malaysia very quickly? That was the second bit.
Catching up. Thankfully, we now have the Tree Crops Development Authority, an authority that is looking at 6 tree crops, minus cocoa, but rubber, mango, cashew, shea, oil palm, and then, so 6 of them. And the authority is working at developing the space so that there will be more production. And as you know, tree crops are tree crops. They have a long gestation. So I think that within 5 to 10 years, we should be coming to the place where we are self-sufficient so that we don't need to import, and then we can move further to be net exporters of this commodity.
Mr. Avala, we're immensely grateful that you took the time to join us for this discussion. Samuel Avala is President, Oil Palm Development Association. Let me come into the studio and wrap with Mr. Bekai and Mr. Appiah Boakye. I'll start with you, Mr. Appiah Boakye. Or is it Mr. Bekai, rather, because I think you had something on your mind. So final thoughts. There's also been talk about the fact that there are foreigners in the value chain, in the smuggling value chain. It's not just Galamsey, even in smuggling, they are also there. Wrap-up comments.
All right, so I think that in that regard, that is why we are in collaboration with the Ghana Immigration Service, and occasionally we do intercept some of these things together. So that is well assuring that it will be a thing of the past. Now, talking about, I think I like some of his suggestions, especially when I heard that we needed helicopters. I think that is in order, because when you go to Nigeria Customs has more than 3 helicopters for border patrols. And I think Ghana, it's high time we look at some of these things to resource customs. We agree perfectly that we need to publicize a lot about some of the things that we do. At least we have positive stories as well that we are not publicizing. And so even in the fight against smuggling, we have officers who have lost their lives. People have been killed, but all of them are shielded. We don't hear some of these news often. So we have taken this advice in good faith. We also want to encourage multimedia, and just like any other media house, to take special interest in our operation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Appiah Boakye.
Well, one thing that Mr. Avala said, and I also buy into, is that we have to at least emboss our toll-free, not even at the lorry stations, even at our checkpoints.
Okay.
That people will, when they get to our checkpoints, they can even access our toll-free numbers, and if they have information to pass it on to us, they do so quickly. And I also conclude by saying that, as we did indicate in the beginning, fighting smuggling is a collective responsibility. We want to urge everybody, the citizen, whoever has any information, please help us with this so that we can all bring smuggling to the barest minimum. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. And if you see something, say something, definitely. The number has been rolling on your screens. That's the toll-free number, 0800 900 110. 0800 900 110. We've been engaging Benjamin Bekai, Senior Revenue Officer, Commander, Custom Counter-Terrorism Unit, GRA Customs Division. I did say I was going to ask you a question on terrorism, but we'll save that for another day.
Sure.
And Mr. Appiah Boakye, Chief Revenue Officer in charge of Preventive TEMA, GRA Customs Division. Once more, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Great. Just stay with us briefly. We're taking a break now, and when we return, there's a demonstration ongoing in the Volta region. Why? We'll bring you the answers after the break.